Oh.
Alright, so I figured I'd do a little bit of a voiceover, just talk you through my training session, why I did what I did, and the reason behind the exercises, because at the end of the day, if your training program isn't planned out accordingly, and it isn't planned out with thought and intent, then you're probably wasting your time, to be honest. Every exercise in your training program should have a purpose behind it. It shouldn't just be in there because, oh, you did a different variation last training block. There should be a deeper meaning as to why the exercise is in your training program. So I started off with the leg extensions just to pre-exhaust the quads before moving on to leg press, so it would limit the amount of weight that I could use on the exercise. I was doing sets of 10 to 15 reps on the leg press, and I stopped around an RPE 7, doing, I think it was 4 or 5 plates a side. It's not much, but I was going full range of motion, making sure my heels stayed planted and pushing through the middle of my feet. And after that, I jumped up and I did some RDLs. I did 2 sets of these. Mind you, the technique wasn't great on these. I probably could have driven my hips further back on the way down. That would have yielded better hamstring recruitment, but I'm pretty fried at the moment. Right here, I was pretty cooked just from the previous few weeks of training. I'd been maintaining around 120 working sets of volume per week, and it just cooked me. So I'm not too fussed about my slip up in technique there. And then I've moved on to some line leg extensions here. And this is a classic leg extension style that was very popular in the golden era with Arnold and Frank Zane and all those guys. They're pretty rare. You don't usually come across these machines in gyms these days. They're very few and far between. And they're really good for targeting the rectus femoris, because the rec fem is a muscle which is in your quads, and it acts on both the hip and the knee, in that it aids in knee extension and hip flexion. So if you can take out the hip flexion a bit and then keep yourself locked in more hip extension and then perform loaded knee flexion, you're going to get that rec fem a lot more, which is the reason why I had it in my training. I've noticed that my rec fem definitely is a lagging muscle in my quadriceps, so I've been really prioritizing that. Then I jumped into laying leg curls here, really focused on keeping that posterior pelvic tilt, or at least a little bit of posterior pelvic tilt, just so I can bias those hamstrings more. I didn't want to put too much tilt in there though, because if you overdo the posterior tilt, you can make it that challenging that you can't really do any weight on the movement, and that kind of defeats the purpose. Too much is just as bad as not enough. So you want to find that sweet spot of tucking those hips a little bit, getting that tailbone tucked, locking it in place and feeling those hamstrings more, but you don't want to make it impossible to perform essentially. And so I did those. I did 2 sets of them, I think. And then I jumped onto seated calf raises. And the tempo for these were 4-second stretch at the bottom and a 2-second pause at the top of every rep. I think I did 3 sets of these from memory. And yeah, that concludes my leg session. You would have noticed that I didn't do any squats, and that's deliberate. I'm quite sick of squats just from my copious years of powerlifting, so I'm having a break from them at the moment. But yeah, that was my leg session.
Alrighty, so that's training done for the day. It's deload week this week, so I was relatively short, about 2 working sets on every exercise, 3 on leg press, but that was the only one. Oh, actually calves, I did 3 sets on calf raises too. But yeah, 2 sets on everything else, just nice and short. Load or intensity was a little bit lower as well, just to allow for adequate recovery before the next block next week. Training style at the moment is very bodybuilder-esque. even though I've been a powerlifter historically, I'm focusing on bodybuilding as I will be doing my first bodybuilding show next year. Season B, if all things go to plan. I've got quite a lot of stuff to do today, so I figured I'd take you through a day in the life of an online coach. Today's going to be a little bit compact though, because I have run a little bit behind schedule. Usually I'm up just before 5 a.m. to head to the gym, train from 5:15 to about 6:15. Then I get home, shower, get ready for the day, and do everything that I need to do on that day. So at the moment, because I'm following Stan EFFERDING'S vertical diet, my breakfast currently consists of 4 whole eggs scrambled with a slice of cheddar cheese in it. Then I get 250 grams of rice and I mix that in, and I also get some peppers, or alternatively I'll put a bit of wilted spinach in and top it off with some chicken stock and have a glass of orange juice with it. So apparently people like to watch other people eat food on YouTube, so I figure I'll film myself eating breakfast and put it in the video. So breakfast is done and dusted. I also take my vitamins with my breakfast, so I'll show you what I have. Basically I take one of these every morning. I've got vitamin C, niacin, slow release so you don't get flushes, chromium picolinate, zinc, magnesium citrate and vitamin D3. And if I get hay fever symptoms, I've got my antihistamines there. So yeah, I just put them in a container and have one of each every day. So I have those with my orange juice and get on the road.
Going down.
Alrighty, so I'm just about to jump onto the computer to hook up a video call with a current online client. So the way my online coaching works is I basically do weekly email check-ins, and then every month I'll do a video call with my clients and just basically go over in more depth over the previous 4 weeks of training and nutrition, so the previous training block, and then use the video call to construct the new training block and new nutrition. And that's basically how I do things. So I'll film a little bit of this video call just to show you, I guess, what I do. So I do a lot of these, like usually, well, not a lot because I cap my online coaching at a certain number of clients at a time. I probably do on average about 10 video calls a week. So it's about 10 hours a week of that. Then I also have the occasional face-to-face sessions, and then the hours that I commit to programming each weekend. So it adds up to quite a lot of bit of work at the end of the day. And then you're also putting hours into professional development, so further reading and things like that, and upskilling and getting new qualifications. So the work doesn't really stop. It's different to when you work for somebody else. Hey mate, how's it going?
Hey guys.
Yeah, good. Yeah, yourself?
Good.
Just like the street lights lit this town, like a fire in a blaze, gotta burn it down. Can't be afraid to leave this.
Okay, so this is dinner right here. So what I've got here is 200 grams of beef. That's weighed cooked, not raw. Then I've got 100 grams of sweet potato, 100 grams of capsicum or red pepper. And I've got 250 grams cooked weight of rice. Alrighty, and that concludes the day in the life for me. So if you did enjoy the content guys, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and if you'd like to see more, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and if you have any constructive criticism or feedback, anything, it can be positive or negative, feel free to leave it in the comment section below and I'll read it and I'll take it on board for future videos. And until I see you next time guys, have a good one.
Just like a spark that's